All right, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I haven't taken a pre-workout in a while, and I haven't gone to the gym yet today, and I will be doing that immediately following filming of today's video. This is the First Form Megawatt, and we're going to take it before we start the video today as a little bit of a process for you guys. Whenever I do a video that requires going to a court document and pulling out different pieces of it and reading it and formatting it and all that sort of stuff, it takes me a couple hours to make that video. So quaffing a full load of pre-workout before doing that, we're going to see something throughout the video. Crazy tasty. We'll talk about that product specifically after the hook, but make this video popular, and we'll do the same thing with the heavy one. Now, one of the things that I told you was going to happen after this election went the way that it was that these blue areas were going to ratchet things up, and that it was going to get really, really nutty in some of those areas, because likely we're going to see some backlash against the policies of the previous administration across the board, and there will be policies implemented that will absolutely drive the anti-gun forces in this country batty. And I have an example of something that obviously started before the election went the way that it was, or went the way that it did. But this is a prime example of a locale that has absolutely lost its marbles when it comes to reality and their perceived reality, and how they are trying to influence the elements of society to move in a direction, in my opinion, with absolutely no basis to go on. What we're talking about here today is how the state of Maryland and Washington, D.C. have objectively lost their collective minds and have decided to go after your gun dealer. Gun dealers that they admit in their filing have done everything legally required of them by the feds, the state, and the locale to be purveyors of a legal business. Guys and gals, this is wild. And it is readily apparent to me from reading these documents that the purpose of this lawsuit is to put these organizations out of business. Because even though the feds, the state, and the locale said, yeah, it's good to go, proceed with sales, the gun dealer should have known better, because racism. As I brought to your attention at the beginning of the video, today's video is brought to you by First Form. First Form is a pro-American, pro-freedom supplement company, and they do a whole bunch of different things out there. They've got a product in every single category. Now, the pre-workout that we quaffed at the beginning of the video is the Megawatt, and this is the one that I have tasted before. This one has approximately 150 milligrams of caffeine, so you're looking at just over a single cup of coffee for your morning pre-workout or afternoon pre-workout. Now, this other one that I said that I would try, what do we got here? 300 milligrams. I need to go back and edit out that part where I said that I would try this thing on camera. I have a link listed in all the relevant places. Do me a favor and use that link to go over there and just take a look around, see if there's anything that you're interested in. That link tells them that I sent you there, and that helps the channel out. So thank you very much to First Form for making today's video possible. I also think that they have a huge giveaway going on right now as well. Now, this case is going to be the District of Columbia and the state of Maryland versus 3 gun shops. This is Engage Armament LLC, Ace Holdings, a United Gun Shop, and Atlantic Guns. And basically what they're saying is that these gun shops colluded together to provide weapons to straw purchasers. And they should have picked up on these straw purchasers that were trafficking guns into their locales for the purposes of doing nefarious things, basically. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the introduction of this lawsuit and just read it to you. Gun violence is an unacceptable daily reality in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. The epidemic of gun violence has worsened in recent years despite the efforts of the district and the state to enact and enforce strong gun laws and to arrest and hold accountable individuals who have committed gun-related offenses, among many other gun violence reduction measures. The unfortunate reality is that the individuals using and possessing guns are not the only ones responsible for the problem. Gun dealers who flout their legal responsibilities and fail to adhere to responsible business practices are also to blame for putting firearms in the wrong hands, providing easy access to guns, and fueling gun violence in the region. See how I got over the gun violence thing? That's why they do it. They just keep packing it in there, and eventually we just let it go. The efforts of this irresponsible and unlawful conduct are felt across Washington, D.C. metropolitan area as guns move throughout the area once they enter the criminal market. Given the interjurisdictional nature of the problem, the attorneys general of the district and the state are joining forces to tackle the issue by bringing this case. In doing so, they aim to expose the role the defendants have played in supplying the local crime gun market and seek to hold them accountable for their own irresponsible and unlawful actions. Defendants own federally licensed gun stores that knowingly facilitated illegal sale of at least 34 handguns to an obvious straw purchaser, Demetrius Minor. Why on earth would it be obvious that he would be a straw purchaser, I wonder? Who in turn transferred most of those weapons to his relative, Donald Willis, a district resident with a record of violent felonies. In or around spring 2021, Mr. Minor, a resident of Montgomery County, walked into Engage Armament, a gun store in Rockville, Maryland. He picked up a 9mm handgun and began the purchase process. Mr. Minor returned to Engage Armament the following week to pick up his new firearm and then ordered a second 9mm handgun the same week. And he purchased a third 9mm handgun from Engage Armament just 2 days after buying the second one. Just weeks later, Mr. Minor purchased 2 more 9mm handguns from Engage Armament. He was in and out of the store frequently over the next few months, placing orders and picking up handguns until he had purchased a total of 25 handguns from Engage Armament alone over only a 5-month period. It then goes through similar behavior at the other 2 gun shops. In short, there was no plausible lawful explanation for Mr. Minor's excessive handgun purchases over such a short period. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. He was obviously engaged in illegal straw purchasing. Maybe not. But the defendants did not care. They kept taking his money and selling him more guns, putting Washington, D.C. metropolitan area at risk. What I just read you is a whole bunch of bullshit. And to bolster my position that that is a whole bunch of bullshit, let's use the filing's own words against it. A central purpose of federal and state gun laws is to prevent crime by keeping guns away from persons with heightened risk of misusing them. Yeah, that doesn't work. It doesn't prevent a liquor crime. Criminals gonna criminal, and they'll use whatever implement they have access to. Exhibit A. For this reason, federal law mandates that before transferring a firearm to any person, a licensed dealer must check the transferee's identification and submit their personal information for background check. Also, they mention this later in the filing, but in my opinion, it's more pertinent to mention it now while we're talking about the federal law. Whenever you purchase more than one handgun in a 5-day period, there's a separate form that has to be filled out that is fast-tracked directly to the ATF. That is called a multiple handgun purchase form. So any handgun that is purchased less than 5 days or 5 days or less from the previous purchase, that form must go to the ATF. Now, there are some other locales that if it's a semi-automatic rifle, more than one semi-automatic rifle in the same time period, you have to submit the same form to the ATF, but those are locale specific. But federally, more than one handgun in any 5-day period, you must submit that form to the ATF. Maryland law goes even further. It prohibits an unlicensed seller from transferring a handgun unless and until a background check has been performed by Maryland State Police. So on top of the 4473, right, You submit the 4473 to the feds. The feds give you a response, approved or disapproved. Maryland State Police also have to go through their same similar divorced process from that one, saying, yeah, it's all right for this person to have the weapon that they would like to purchase. Additionally, district law requires anyone who wishes to purchase or otherwise take possession of a firearm to first obtain a registration certificate from the district. Such certificates may be granted only to individuals who may legally possess firearms. Similarly, Maryland law requires anyone who wishes to purchase a handgun to obtain a handgun qualification license from the state. It then goes on to define what straw purchases are in several paragraphs, and here it is. Gun violence in the district overwhelmingly affects young black people. In 2022, 94.7% of homicide victims and 92.8% of non-fatal shooting victims in the district were black. So now we come to the question, are these gun shops being criminally prosecuted for violating the law, for not following the law and not filling out the paperwork and doing the checks and all that sort of stuff? Is that what these governments are alleging by saying, hey, you didn't fill out the federal forms, you didn't fill out the state forms, and you didn't fill out the district forms? Is that what they are saying? Are they being criminally prosecuted? No, they are being civilly sued. This is not a criminal investigation. There is nowhere in this filing that they say that they didn't fill out the forms. So they went through all the processes for the legal transfer of these firearms. What did they do according to this lawsuit? They're saying that what they did wrong was they sold the dude a whole bunch of guns in the same caliber. I checked the number of 9mm caliber firearms in this book would make every single one of those attorneys crap themselves, and it is second only to the number of 5.56 caliber firearms. It is not unreasonable for someone to purchase a whole bunch of firearms in the same caliber, even if they are substantially similar weapons. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the numbers that Demetrius here was putting down are some downright rookie numbers as far as the number of transfers that he engaged in. So could there be another factor maybe? Mr. Miner's actions being consistent with a firearms trafficker for a variety of reasons, including that he purchased a large number of firearms in a short period of time and purchased multiple firearms in a single transaction. On information and belief, Mr. Miner was easily recognizable to the defendants and their employees during his frequent repeated purchases, in part due to his distinct physical appearance. What do you think that means? Shall we be obtuse for a moment? A man by the name of Demetrius Miner with a distinct physical appearance walked into a gun shop and purchased multiple handguns of the same caliber over a period of time. And that is supposed to be a red flag. Gun violence in the district overwhelmingly affects young black people. Gun control from its inception. The very first gun control provisions instituted in this country were designed to keep guns out of the hands of black people. Freshly emancipated slaves, they wanted to control what arms they could have and when. And this is the same ideology that is being perpetuated through the gun control movement today. And apparently, this FFL should have known better. These FFL should have known better because somebody with a distinct physical appearance named Demetrius Miner came into their shop and purchased a whole bunch of guns in the same caliber. Now, yes, did he ultimately traffic those weapons? Well, it's really easy to Monday quarterback somebody when you know the ultimate result. But you can't just racially profile people that walk into your shop. That is not the job of the FFL. It is the job of the government agencies that they submitted all the proper paperwork to decipher who is a bad actor and who is doing something illegal and who is doing something to harm the community. That is not the gun shop's job. It is not the gun shop's job to talk to all the other gun shops in the area to determine whether or not a certain individual came in and purchased a whole bunch of guns in the same caliber. That is fucking bullshit and a extraordinary leap to make. That is something that gun shops should be doing. No, that is the job of the ATF. That is the job of the state of Maryland. That is the job of the District of Columbia and all the associated law enforcement agencies. And they dropped the ball, and you're pissed that they dropped the ball, and you can't punish them, so you're punishing the people that you ideologically disagree with. This lawsuit is a fucking sham and should be thrown out immediately. Whew. I need to go lift weights. I am calling on every single Second Amendment oriented organization out there that has any kind of litigation capacity to look into this case immediately and bring the unholy ire of our collective capacity as a Second Amendment community down on the District of Columbia and the state of Maryland. This is absolutely unacceptable. What say you in the comment section down below? I'm going to go lift now. Bye.